Okay, in this video we're going to look at adding and subtracting mixed numbers. And when it doesn't involve regrouping, it's pretty easy. You just add the fractions or subtract the fractions, add the whole numbers or subtract the whole numbers, and you're good to go. So I'm going to focus on the ones that do involve regrouping. Okay, and I'm going to show you two methods, and in this first video I'm going to show you what really is more like a place value method, where we just do it the same as if we were doing it with whole numbers. Okay, consider everything by its place value, and here we have a ones place, and here we have a fraction place, here we have a ones place, here we have a fraction place. So as far as adding goes, okay, let's add 2/5 plus 4/5, and that gives us 6/5. And let's add 3 plus 7, okay, and that gives us 10. Okay, but what we've talked about before is you can't have an improper fraction and a mixed number. So we'd have to decompose this 6/5 into, we have our 10 plus 5/5, so I'm taking 5 out of there, and we still have 1/5 remaining. There's my 6/5. Okay, I've decomposed that, and what I recognize is that this 5/5 is a whole, so that comes over here, and this 10 becomes an 11, and it is 11 and 1/5. And over here, if we were doing subtraction, okay, it's a little bit different with subtraction than we would normally think, okay, and let me explain why. So here we have 5 minus 2, we can handle that part, but we've got 1/4 minus 3/4, and we don't want to end up with a negative answer, so we're not going to do that. We're going to regroup, okay, and we're going to borrow 1 whole from the 5, and we're going to bring that over here. And normally what we're used to doing in this case is making that 1 and 11, but we're not dealing with tenths, we're dealing with fourths, okay, so we have 5 and 1/4, and so by bringing over 4/4 and adding it to the 1/4 we have, this 1 does not become an 11, it's now a 5. Okay, let me explain that again, in case you're scratching your head. I brought over 4/4 and added it to my 1/4 to get 5/4. Now I can subtract. And don't worry if this is a little confusing to you, we're going to give you another method to do this. Okay, so 5 minus 3 is 2, and that is my 4th place. Okay, 2/4, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So my answer is 2 and 2/4, and again, if you want to reduce that 2/4, you could say it's 2 1/2. And just to give us one more review, let's go over one more practice problem of each kind. Okay, so here I have 2 3/4 plus 2 3/4. I'm going to add my fourths, and I'm going to get 6/4. Now what I did last time was I just left that alone, and then I added the whole numbers. Okay, I'll show you a little bit different way you can do this if you want to. Right now I recognize that 6/4, okay, that is the same as 4/4 plus 2/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 4/4, and I'm going to do just like we would do in a normal addition problem. I'm going to regroup, I'm going to add it over here, okay, and this becomes 2/4. So now 1 and 2/4 is the same as the 6/4 that I had before. But I put it over in the ones place, and I've done it before I add these two together instead of after. So now I get 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, and so my answer 6 and 2/4, and again we could also write that as 6 1/2. And for subtraction, okay, basically going to follow the same steps that we did before, only this time when we regroup, we're not bringing over 4/4. Our whole is 8, so we're bringing over 8/8. Okay, so I don't want to take 7 away from 3 and end up with a negative answer. So I look at this 7 and I say, okay, I'm going to make that a 6. And instead of bringing 10 over, I'm not doing that because we're dealing with eighths, the fractional unit. I bring over 8/8, And 8 plus 3, in case you haven't noticed, add my numerator and denominator, and that will give me my number at the top, because 8 is the whole, and that's how much I have left over. So 8/8 plus 3/8 is about 11/8. Okay, now I can go ahead and subtract. 11 minus 7 is 4. 4/8. 6 minus 4 is 2. And my final answer is 2 and 4/8. Okay, and for one last look at a visual model of subtracting fractions with regrouping. Here I have 3 1/3, and I want to take away 1 2/3. Okay, so here's my 1, 2, 3, and 1/3. I don't have these two pieces here, 3 1/3. And what I want to do is take away 1. Okay, so I can do that. I can take this 1 away. But how do I take away 2/3 when I only have 1/3 here? And the answer is I break this piece up into thirds as well. Okay, so now instead of 1, 2, 3, and 1/3, what I began with was 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4/3. Okay, so I took one of these and I regrouped it into thirds. I added the 3/3 here to the third that I had, and this 1 became a 4. So now I have 1, 2, and 4/3, and now I can subtract. 4 minus 2, 2/3, and 2 minus 1 is 1, and if I finish it over here, I've already taken away the 1. Now I'm going to take away 2/3 more, so I take away 1/3, 2/3, and what I have remaining here is 1 whole and 2/3.